Coach's Corner with Coach Heck and the infamous Coach Patrick King. You're stuck with me, man.
I'm stuck.
You are stuck with me. I ain't going anywhere.
There's a lot of people that are jealous of me for sitting here, and there's some people that there's a little sympathy going on at the same time.
There's more people that are sympathetic to you. I'm just saying that much right now. Ron, you know you're second in the state in tees.
When I go talk to Turtovich at the scores
Get a
table,
picture.
I said, get as many pictures as you can.
So how long did you guard Larry Bird?
For about 4 or 5 minutes, the rest of the half.
How'd he do? How'd you do against him?
We held him to 48 that afternoon.
And you ain't that good. The scouting report said you were pretty good. You ain't that good. Oh, man. Are you kidding me? Oh, man. Are you kidding me? I just love that intro. So, it doesn't matter what kind of day I'm having, whether it's a stressful day. I mean, how can you have a stressful day when you mess with credit recovery? But I don't know if the puppies are running around, if they dug a hole. But whenever on Mondays when I come and I hear that intro, I invariably laugh to myself.
It's fun.
No, it's an absolute blast. I got a hole in my head still.
It shows you we've had fun, this fall and this winter and now into the spring. So we've done just fine.
Yeah, it helps to add the stuff out of context because people are like, "Oh, these guys are kind of funny. I wonder what the context is. Maybe I'll listen."
Yeah. No, or these guys are really stupid. I mean, it really doesn't matter, man.
Let's see what else they're going to say this week.
It doesn't matter, but I will say before we get started, we're going to talk some transfer portal, basketball transfer portal. We're going to talk some NFL football. We're going to talk with one of my ex-players who was the head coach at the University of New Orleans. But before we get into any of that, we're going to pay some of our bills, and our sponsors have done a great job for us this year, starting with Hahn Funeral Home located at 505 West 8th Street. The great owner is Pat Hahn, who just does a wonderful job. The loss of a loved one can leave you with lots of unanswered questions and stress. At Hahn Funeral Homes of Mishawaka, they are always there to help. Their focus has always been on the families and taking care of the families. They'll answer any questions you have. They'll put together any plans that you want, but they are wonderful, wonderful people, and they're led by the owner, Pat Hahn. Give them a buzz at 574-255-1474. Health Markets Insurance, run by Mr. Tony Letcher, licensed insurance agent. Whether you need help with your insurance, health insurance, or Medicare, it's time you get the right coverage for the right price. Get a hold of Tony at 574-307-8882 or visit his website at tletcher.com. And there's old Tony on the screen right there, the 1995 John Adams Eagle graduate. Tony Letcher, Magic Mind. I've been taking it over 3 weeks now, and it's really a great product. Reduces your stress, steady, calming, gives you energy, gives you a lot of focus and clarity. And I'm here to tell you because I've been taking it, and I'm there more. I'm in whatever moment I'm doing. I'm just more focused with it. I have more clarity, and obviously my memory is a lot better. So pull it up at magicmind.com. When you look to order, punch in Coach's Corner 20 for a 20% discount. But I will tell you, try it, man. I mean, get a box of it and try it for 15 straight days and see what you think.
Get you in the state of flow.
No, I'm in a state of flowage. So I come home and Monica wants to say, "Hey man, you didn't do this today. You didn't do the dishes." I say, "Honey, I'm in a state of flow. Do not talk to me about the dishes. Do not talk to me about picking up the dog stuff in the backyard. I'm in a state of flow." Now, that doesn't go over really well, but that's a reason I'm taking Magic Mind, so I can handle a state of flow.
Coping.
And I always say copacetic.
Yes.
And I want to be in the state of Hakuna Matata. And I think when you get to 68 years of age, our age,
yes.
Why do we want to mess? We don't want to mess.
Well, and speaking of old people, one of little league buddies from a long time ago. Steve Douglas turns 68 tomorrow, believe it or not. So
I need to,
down in Campbellsville, Kentucky, Steve Pajo.
Well, we need to send Steve a bottle of Flow
Okay, something.
and let the Flow await you,
We'll
Steve.
probably have to send it to Kathy and let her get, his agent and get things taken care of.
But there's the Magic Mind info, and again, pull it up and get yourself a little bit and see what you think.
Well, let me talk a little bit. Mention we're here at Bar Louie again for the 35th time. They've been a very gracious host. They fed us again tonight. They changed my chicken club sandwich now, and it's pretty good.
I mean, I hate to say this, but I thought you were going to throw a conniption when they changed the sandwich. They changed the bun, and I should have had 7 bottles with me because I think you could have used them. Heck, they changed the bun. It's not the same.
It's not the same.
There's bacon on it.
It's bacon on it. They now have they don't have guacamole anymore. They have the avocado slices.
Yeah, no, and avocado's really good for you.
So
but
that's my healthy part.
But I don't know if you ever watched the movie Grumpy Old Men. I mean, have you ever watched it?
Oh yeah.
With Burgess Meredith.
Is that us or a chance to be?
I don't know, but Burgess Meredith is in the movie, and he's one of the characters' father. He's like 93 years old, and he talks to one of the guys. And he says, I think God has just forgot about me. He said, everybody I know has died, but I think he forgot about me. And he's talking about his menu, his diet. He says, I eat bacon in the morning, I eat a pound of bacon for lunch, and I drink my supper. And I'm still here. So, yeah. So
all I remember is Burgess Meredith. He was the Penguin in Batman.
He was the Penguin, and he was the trainer in the Rocky movies for a long. What a great actor. So, and the only reason I say that is because of the bacon on your sandwich. But hey, listen,
I had 2 pieces of bacon on there.
Bacon in the morning, a pound of bacon for lunch. Hey, so we have the greatest driving school in the history of driving schools in Frick, right?
Frick's Driving School. I drove this past week, get back in the action. I did find out that the state of Indiana had every even numbered year, we have to renew our license for some reason. And they want to fingerprint us. And we also have to get a criminal background check. And we have to, what else? Oh, a physical to sit in the driver's ed car every 2 years.
I will say this.
I don't know what they think we're doing, running behind the car or something.
Well, so when the doctor tells you to stand there and turn your head and cough, tell them you just had hernia surgery and everything's good to go, Doc.
Yeah, I think I can just mail that one in. I can probably do it myself. Anyways, call Frick's. Up here locally, it's 256-0650.
No, so you know what I would say? I can't turn my head. My neck is messed up.
Yeah, but you'll still pass physical.
Yeah, okay,
like they do on Hogan's Heroes. We'll get you to the Eastern Front.
There we go. Hey, so, and obviously Frick's is the best. You're the only driver's ed instructor I know that sat at a stop sign during a storm and had a tree trunk come through the windshield.
That's right.
And pin you in your car and put you in the hospital for a couple of weeks, and you came back
and worked for them
to teach.
That's because they took care of me.
It's amazing.
They took care of me. They did. So
and the Black Sedan Band, those I live for those tunes on Mondays, man. Hearing my brother's group just really bang it out and play it out. I live for that. If you need any musical entertainment, there's this card up there. Please get a hold of us. We can get a hold of the Black Sedan Band, and they are amazing. Hey, you know what? I want to start this show off talking about some college portal situations in some of the basketball players that have signed and have gone to different places. Because one of the things that's coming out now is that Indiana University is rated the number 1 team in getting transfer portals this coming year. And
you're exactly right. And I think Coach Woodson realized he had to do something. And I think the IU people have opened their pocketbook and have made money available, because we talked about it last week. It's no secret. You're going to have a huge bucket of money to get the players in that you want nowadays, because you just can't get them to come over here just because they want to play for IU. And, they're going to have some compensation.
Yeah. So can you go over that list of players that IU has brought in and signed?
Well, and it started earlier in the month on the 13th of April. Miles Rice, and we mentioned last week they hit the Pac-12 hard. Miles Rice from Washington is 6'2" guard. He's got 3 years left. He made a commitment to IU. 3 days later, Omar Ballo, the big 6'10" center from Arizona, decided. And I did some reading say his NIL value right now is at $1 million.
Well, I had a little intel that says that IU did pony up $1 million for him.
Yeah, and so right off the bat, he hasn't even put his shoes on yet in Bloomington, and they've already committed $1 million to a college basketball player.
Yeah, man.
So he was a big kid from Arizona. Kanan Carlisle, I can't pronounce his name. I should do better. Stanford kid, 6'3" guard. He's got 3 years left. So they've got 2 guards coming in, and I don't think it's any secret IU needs guards.
Yeah, I don't think there's any secret either. And they got some size, both about 6'3".
Yeah,
and then Luke Goody's coming over, 6'7" kid from Illinois.
And that just happened 2 days ago. That happened
played
over the
at
weekend.
Homestead.
Yeah, he's from Homestead. He's got 1 year left, which means he's probably 2 years older than Fletcher Loyer from Purdue. They probably played together at Homestead in high school. One was a senior and Loyer was a sophomore back then. But that just happened here over the weekend. 6'7" forward from Illinois. So they've got 4 big names coming in to IU.
And so Goody is and he's a great shooter. He's a 3-point specialist.
Yes.
And so now I think it's great. I think it sounds all great, except the McNeely boy, Liam McNeely, signed at UConn and is going to go to UConn. He was a 5-star recruit that Indiana had signed, but once he saw what was going on during the season, he broke his commitment and ended up just signing last week at UConn. But now here's the deal, man. You got players.
Now the players are coming in.
You got players, and now there's no excuse for not winning.
Right.
And I think it's great. I mean, I think the ability as a coach, and the thing that would frustrate me is that you break your back in recruiting. I was a college assistant coach for 4 years, and you break your back recruiting, developing a relationship, getting to know the family, getting to know everything about that player, and that player ends up coming to your school because of you, and he trusts you, and he likes the program. And then at the end of the day, after a year, if somebody comes out and waves a little more cash at him, it's adios.
Right.
I mean, the loyalty part of this. I mean, we've talked about this. It's just a bad situation. And really, there's no. I mean, there used to be a hands-off deal. I've signed at so and so. There's nobody else can recruit me. I'm signed, sealed, and delivered. Boom, it's a violation if someone else is still calling me.
Right.
Ain't no more violations.
And it's free agency every year. Everybody's on a 1-year contract. Think about it. So the coaches that talk about building a culture similar to what Purdue has. Purdue's very fortunate. Purdue right now is a very unique situation where they don't have the transfers coming in and out like some of these other schools do. We mentioned Duke. 7 players left Duke. I mean, everybody think, here's Duke is one of the pillars, I guess you would say, or one of the backbones of college basketball. 7 players leave Duke.
Okay, they're called the Blue Bloods.
We can call them that too.
The Blue Bloods.
I called them pillars.
I need to. I got to get you in some.
I kind of like pillars.
I like pillars too, but the Blue Bloods.
You guys would know something about being pillars, right?
Yeah, because we're pillars of our own mind.
Exactly.
We're pillars in our mind, but the fact that these guys can get a little cash, cool, but there's got to be parameters, man. All right,
here, look at Chucky Hepburn and AJ Storr from Wisconsin.
Well, Wisconsin's gutted, haven't they?
Yeah, and I thought a guy like Chucky Hepburn was about as loyal to Wisconsin as anybody could be, but then he ends up leaving. So did AJ Storr. And what did we say last week? AJ Storr is on his 7th school in 7 years, going back to high school.
Right, I think you're right.
And Hunter, I just saw Hunter Dickinson's going back to Kansas too. So
he's going to go back. So he must have figured out that Yeah, I was going to say he must have figured out that in the NBA value, his NBA value right now must be not where he wants it to be. So he's going back to Kansas for another year.
Kansas is going to have a really scary front court with him and Flory Badunga.
Why not go back? I mean, it's 3 hots in a cot. And you're getting everything paid for, plus you're getting $1 million.
You're getting at least
plus
$1 million.
You got your same chicks you're running around with all the time. You got to go to school, but so what?
Mm-hmm. And he's got a podcast with Barstool too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so what?
Well, and we're talking about IU, and let's use the contrast. Purdue, who did Purdue lost?
Mason Gillis is going to do.
They lost 3 players to graduation. So Edie's not coming back.
Mason Gillis is going to Duke, and Ethan Morton's going to Colorado State.
Colorado State, I saw that. And then your transfer, was it Jones is out of eligibility.
Jones was a 5th-year guy, yeah.
Yeah, he was a 5th-year guy, so he's out of eligibility.
Purdue's still over on scholarships.
So they lose what, 4 people, right? So let's say they lose 4 players, and I have 6 incoming high school seniors written down here right now. You've got Benner from Brownstown, you've got Catchings from Brownsburg, you got Jakari Harris coming in. That's Glenn Robinson's son. I could go on and on, but there are 6 high school seniors coming in, and they only lost 4 people. How's that going to work? Yeah. Somebody's going to get redshirted.
Well, no, and they'll figure that out. I mean, they'll figure that out. They'll run somebody off if they have to, or redshirting
counts as a scholarship.
It counts as a scholarship.
That's a good point.
So, maybe one of the guys or 2 of the guys has to pay for their schooling through their NIL money. Who knows? And I don't even know if that's a possibility and can be done. But Notre Dame.
The thing I heard about that was some of the Purdue beat writers had maybe floated out the idea of Jack Benner going to a prep school for a year.
Well, and the only problem with that is if Jack Benner goes to a prep school,
he's not coming back.
He ain't coming back, man, because all the pillars in the college basketball community, or as I like to call them, all the blue bloods will be all over Jack Benner, because that boy can just flat out play, man. He's really good.
Here's a question: who are your current blue bloods? And this is an argument I get into on the college basketball Reddit a lot.
Well, I think, and okay, when you say current, I think obviously Kentucky's a blue blood. I think Kansas is a blue blood. I think when you're talking about,
I think the 2 biggest ones that I always hear are that always get the argument out of people are UCLA and Indiana still blue bloods.
Yeah, I think so. I think they are.
So is UConn one now?
Well, and I think obviously they could be considered one now. But they've been really good. Kevin Ollie won a national championship there. I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. Danny Hurley comes in and just does a phenomenal job. Now, can he keep that up? I mean, is Baylor a blue blood school because of what Scott Drew has done lately? I don't know, but I think the blue bloods are just the schools just traditionally older basketball schools that have been good for so long. That would be my definition of what a blue blood is.
Yeah, but now you got UConn now has more national titles than North Carolina.
Without question. And
it's just an interesting thought experiment.
I think would you call UConn your flavor of the month or your flavor of the year? I don't know.
I think they're really good for 20 years. They've won 6 really titles.
Good. Yeah. I think they're really good. So I would refer to them as a blue blood. So Notre Dame, they're lacking in shot making and taking care of the basketball. That's where their struggles were this past year. So they bring in a former Princeton guard, Matt Alaco, a native of Columbus, Ohio. I don't know, averaged about almost 13 points a game, was the only player in the country that fit the 50-40-90 equation, which stands for 50% field goals, 40% from the three-point line, and 90% from the free throw line. He chose Notre Dame over Ohio State. So I think that's the player that they're bringing, and they're losing a kid named Corey Booth, about a 6'9" player that came in with Micah Shrewsbury. He's going to Illinois next year. So right now, Notre Dame has 11 players on scholarship. So look for them to be selective and active right now in the portal also. Although I know they have 3 kids coming in that they signed in the fall. So, they may be looking for another portal kid.
So, and I was going to mention our fourth big college is Butler. Butler had some news. The main news that we can get that we'll eventually be going back to, Patrick McCaffrey is leaving Iowa, and he's coming to Butler. And there's some details we'll get to in a minute. Some of the other names they mentioned, one of the drama down there was Finley Bijak from Texas, high school player that played last year as a freshman. He entered the portal and then took his name out. So he announced this year. He just announced here that he's going to come back to Butler. The one that really disappointed me was Posh Alexander that had come in from St. Joe and had a really good year this past season there at Butler. He's leaving and got his name in the portal. DJ Davis is going to Washington. Connor Turnbull's going to Evansville. In the NBA draft, Johnny Telfort, the one that came in from Northeastern. Butler had a bunch of transfers. I think they had 10 transfers this past season. The only recruit that they have right now is the Brebeuf senior, Evan Hayward. And so Butler's going to have a whole new team coming in as well. We mentioned Indiana State. Last week, Indiana State lost all 5 of their starters to different schools. 2 went to St. Louis. And the others have also gone on their own way, and we're going to talk to one of the new coaches here. And
we have the great Mark Schlesinger on the line. Mark, how are you, man?
Coach, great to hear from you. I'm doing fantastic.
Mark Schlesinger. Let me give you a little bio on Mark. Mark is a kid that played high school basketball at Edgewood High School. Around the same time that I coached, I had a great 3-year run at Edgewood, had some really good players, and Mark was a younger player in that program that was just a tough son of a gun and just played his heart out and, ended up having a nice career. And then I believe, Mark, you went on to Aurora University and played some college ball?
I did. I was a very, very poor excuse for a Division III player, but I had a great time and an incredible experience at Aurora during that time.
Yeah, so some of the kids that we had at Edgewood during that time were really good players, man. We had a kid named Brian Blackwell who went on to play. He got a Division I scholarship at UNC Asheville. Rhett Dallas transferred over from Bloomington North, played at Toledo, then transferred to IUPUI. Chad Pate was just a phenomenal, hard, tough-ass little guard, and he had a career at IUPUI. Brian ended up transferring to maybe Hawaii Hilo and stayed in Hawaii, was a police officer at Hawaii. We had another kid named Aaron Pence. Jeff Harrington was a really, really good player. That was a special time at Edgewood, wasn't it?
It was phenomenal. It's just an incredible time to grow up there and be a part of it. I think, what a great legacy during that time was just the impact that athletics had and kind of where it led to careers for people. Me becoming a head Division I coach, Missy Ringler becoming the head Division I coach at UNLV for golf. Rob Smith was head baseball coach at Ohio University. Chad Killinger was the head basketball coach at Moberly, was the National Junior College Coach of the Year, and then coached here at ISU as well. So we had just an incredible run of students that went into the profession. And that's not even touching the high school coaches, the great high school coaches that we had during that time as well.
Yeah, so I know that you were really, really close to the older athletic director that hired me when I got to Edgewood, a guy named John Holmes, and Mr. Holmes was awesome, and so when I went through the interview process, he said, Ron, there's 2 things I'm going to ask out of you, and I said, yeah, Mr. Holmes, what do you got? He said, I don't want you using the F word, and you can't go to Kenny's Tavern. And I said, Mr. Holmes, 1 out of 2 ain't bad, man.
Absolutely. He was such an incredible influence in my life. Both of my grandfathers had passed away, and he, filled that role in my life and was one of the most influential men I had a great privilege to be around and work on his farm. I started working on his farm when I was in the 4th grade. It was right down the street from my house, and I worked for him all the way through high school, and even when I was a college basketball coach, I took him home in the summer and helped him, work the hayfield and work his cattle. And just an unbelievable man and just an incredible influence on my life.
Talk about your college career and your journey that led you to, a very good 13-year run as the head coach at the University of New Orleans.
Yes, sir. I graduated from Aurora in 96 and went to work at Central Michigan for one of your dear friends and the late Leonard Drake.
Sweet Lenny Drake, man.
Yeah. And just a great man and a fantastic father and just a wonderful human being. So got a chance to work there for him. And then I went to Arizona to coach junior college basketball and was the assistant for a year, became a head coach at the age of 24.
Wow.
And spent 2 years there as the head coach and had a really good run. And my dear friend Buzz Williams left Northwestern State, which is a Division I school in Northwest Louisiana. He was there for 1 year with Mike McConaughey to go to Colorado State and put me in at that job. And so I was lucky enough to be there for 11 years. And we went to the NCAA tournament twice and upset Coach Alford in the Iowa Hawkeyes in 06 and had a great team there and had great success. And then was very lucky to get the University of New Orleans job in 2000 and serve as the head coach there in a city where I had met my wife, and we were blessed to adopt three kids from the city as my sons and daughter, and really have an incredible run of success, be able to go to the NCAA tournament and win the conference and really be impactful, not just with our basketball team, but also in the community and on campus, and really live a great life there for 13 years. And then to be able to get the opportunity to come back home. Coach Graves has been a dear friend of mine my whole life. We were a year apart in school, Matthew Graves, and he went on to Butler, and obviously a way better player than me. But then for him to be at Butler and be the associate head coach with Coach Stevens when they went to the national championship, and him take his run at head coach, and then to come back here with Coach Church 3 years ago to kind of start this process of rebuilding the Sycamore team. And now when Coach left to St. Louis, for him to be able to become the head coach and him to afford me an opportunity to come home and work for one of my best friends in the business. But then, to be 55 miles from my mom and dad, they're in their 80s and still live in the same house I grew up in, and to live in a great basketball city. Like Terre Haute's just such a great basketball city. It was too good an opportunity for me to pass up on. So it's just awesome to be back home and be back a part of Indiana basketball.
All right, so now you take a look at your roster at Indiana State and what everybody saw last year and the great run and the great Robbie Avila and the great team. That roster's been gutted now, and you guys have to start from square one, basically, right?
Yeah, and I think there's 363 Division I teams, and there's probably half or more that are all of us in the same place. And I think kind of the experiences I went through at a low major school like New Orleans has given me some great insights to be able to be a great resource for Coach in this rebuild. But then also, my time as a junior college coach, you have a new team every year. And I think part of that process in this new world we're in, I think you're going to have a much, much bigger percentage of your team will be new every year, and figuring out how to build on the fly, how to sustain the pieces that are really, really important and grow those. I think that'll be the case that you'll see really quick.
Yeah. So as you know, the Missouri Valley Conference is the conference y'all compete in, and I mean, is there a lot of discrepancy in the conference? As we're talking about NIL money, as to who has a lot of it to offer, who doesn't have a lot, or is basically the conference basically the same when it comes to NIL money?
I think it's pretty competitive across the board, and I think we're in a competitive situation here, and obviously part of that, having gone through what they did and the excitement, really having, their greatest basketball season since Larry Bird. I think that there's a lot of excitement, and people want to have that success, and have invested heavily in what we're doing. And so I think they're realistic of that. This is going to be not maybe a 1-year flip, but they put in some pieces where we can be competitive, in a very quick turn in the next 2 years to try to get back to where we were.
Speaking of the great Larry Bird, my partner here sitting to my left was a great player at Anderson named Pat King, longtime high school coach in the state of Indiana at Adams and down south at Madison High School. And Pat played at Butler, and Pat tells this story. Well, as a matter of fact, why don't you tell the story, Pat, about when you guarded Larry Bird?
It gets better every time. Now stop it. He does this to set me up, Coach. So don't think that it was. I sat on the end of the bench. There were 11 basketballs and a seat cushion for warm-ups, and I had the seat cushion. So
don't talk about when you guarded Larry.
Bird's the same age as Coach and I are, and he was on the All-Star team, and two of the guys I played with were on the Indiana All-Star team. So most of my stories are from the Indiana-Kentucky All-Star game, to be quite honest, about why Bird was sitting on the end of the bench and what he told Kirby Overman at the end when he told him to go in with 3 minutes left in one of the games at Hinkle. But yeah, one game I guarded Bird for like a down and back or something like that, and we held him to 48 that afternoon there at Hinkle Fieldhouse. So that's my claim to fame. I got a down and back on a run, and by then it was a TV timeout, and I went back to the bench.
No.
Yeah.
I heard it was a 4-minute stint.
It depends on which story I tell it. It's one of those, and as well as I do in college coaching, you never let the truth get in the way of a good story, and that's kind of where we are right here.
Hey, let me ask you this question, Mark. When you drove in and your first day of work, did Coach Graves say, "Hey, Sless, I want you to call Larry, see if he can get us some NIL money"?
Yeah, no kidding.
No, he did not have that request. He told me to get to work and finance some players.
No, so what about Brent Compton at Pacesetter Sports? Did he said, "Hey, man, go see BC at Pacesetter Sports, see if he can give us a $500,000"?
We are going to see him tomorrow. Ironically, I'm excited to see him, and all these people that I've been greeted with such warmth from people, and they've been so excited for me to be home, and it's just been amazing the welcome that I've had. And Wednesday will be my official first day, and so this is without any publicity, just people, how much they love the program and know that I'm coming and being a part of it. It's what Indiana is about. It's the magic of why our home state is the best basketball state in the country.
Have you ever thought about the differences it's going to be now with you being an assistant coach, because you've been a head coach for such a long period of time? You're the leading, you have the most wins in the University of New Orleans history. And we're talking about New Orleans basketball. That was good basketball. Tim Floyd was the head coach there for a while. And now all of a sudden you got to come back and you got to be an assistant coach, and you're not running the show. Have you thought about that and how that's going to be a different look for you?
I'm more than anything, I have, and I wouldn't say midlife crisis isn't the right term. I think a new learning opportunity. I think part of it, as a coach, and you and I talked about this a couple different times, but I think you always wish, man, if I could just have a year sabbatical to really figure out some stuff and really look at maybe a different way that I've been doing it. and you never really have that opportunity unless you get let go, right? And so the opportunity for me at this point in my career, I'll be 50 this week.
No way. You ain't going to be 50. No way.
Yes, sir.
No, you're little Slush. You're little Marcus Schlesinger, man. Come on.
Yes, sir. I'll be 50 this week. So the opportunity, I think, to kind of, having been 15 of those years as a head coach, 15 as an assistant, I think the opportunity to learn and serve and really hear and do it a little bit different than I've been doing it. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about supporting Coach Graves and serving him and the other staff and the student athletes in a way where I'll be better the next time I choose to be a head coach, and I'll be more equipped and even better. And I think part of it, you just when you're the head coach, you have your head down so much, just fighting the fight. And I think in this new world we're in with social media, NIL, all that stuff, and when you're at a really under-resourced place like I was, your head is really down. You're just trying to survive. And so I'm excited to be back on the floor, be back, full-time working guys out, be able to not have to worry about keeping the lights on per se on a daily basis, but be able to just coach ball to a certain extent.
Hey, talk about that staff that you had at Central Michigan, man, because if memory serves me right, and my Magic Mind that I'm taking, by the way, look up magicmind.com. It's the best stuff. It's the best stuff out there for your memory. But as my memory serves me right, wasn't Mike Westfall and Glenn Heffernan on that staff with you?
So Coach Westfall was one of the assistants at Edgewood High School when I was there when he was a student at IU. And he kind of worked during the year to help set it up for me to replace him. So he was that assistant coach that he knew he was going to walk away. So I graduated. I did my student teaching that spring of '96, and I would get in the car on Friday afternoon and leave Aurora, Illinois, and drive to Mount Pleasant and just show up in the office and start working. And I worked there all weekend, every weekend, sleep in the locker room. And so Coach Drake would come in and be like, well, who are you? Or he knew me from camp, and he was like, what are you doing here? And I was like, well, I'm just working, just helping out in case you have an opening. Now, I knew Mike was going to leave. And so I just kept doing that. And I drove up there probably 6 weeks. And then, when Mike decided he was going to leave, it was about a week before graduation. Then he really didn't have a choice but to hire me. And so I graduated on a Thursday and drove there on a Friday and started working. And so he was on there, and now Mike is doing tremendous. He's the vice president of development at Oakland University in Detroit. And then Red Hefferman is, a Chicago legend, and he's still coaching at St. Francis and Joliet and teaching high school. So I had, and Red was actually one of my camp coaches at Ball State when you were the assistant and I went up to camp.
Yeah, no, I remember all this. Let me tell you a great story about Mike Westfall. I'm coaching at Edgewood, and Mike's a student at IU, and he's helping us. And we have a Friday night game, but Saturday is the big game. We play Owen Valley, the big rival with Edgewood. And I tell Mike, I say, Mike, listen, man, I don't want you coming to the Friday night game. I want you going to scout Owen Valley, and I want you to have everything ready to roll. And I'll meet you in my office at 8:00 on Saturday morning. And Mike said, oh man, heck, I got it. I'll nail it. Blah blah blah. So Mike comes for the walkthrough on Friday. Then we leave and go play somewhere. And I see Mike walking in at 5 till 8. Mike's got the same clothes on he had on the night before. And he's got nothing in his hands. I mean, I'm looking for the manila folder. I'm looking for, something, right? He's got nothing in his hands, walking towards me. And I say, Mike, where's the scouting report? And he points a finger to his head. He said, heck, it's right there. And he points it to his head. And I said, what? He said, it's right there, heck. I body slam him, and I'm sitting on top of him saying, you better have this, man. And Mike Westfall was such a freaking genius. He's out there on the floor. He's walking those guys through everything. He did not need to write it down. And that's a testament to where he is today. But I will never forget that. Right here, Heck. It's right here. I mean, how many times you go scouting, you come back with a book, right? You come back writing like a million things, man. But like you said about Mike, he's and I think he was at the provost at Eastern Washington for a while, wasn't he?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah. So how's your recruiting going at Indiana State? Have you signed anybody yet?
Yeah, we're working at it. We got this is a big 2-week period for us coming up. So a lot will be happening in these next 2 weeks. So it's fast and furious. It's fluid on a daily basis. With I think you probably have seen the numbers. There's over 2,200 student athletes in the transfer portal at Division I. So it's amazing the amount of kids that are out there, and you just gotta find the ones that fit and find the ones that want to play really fast here at ISU.
Coach, I was going to ask you real quick, just without giving away any secrets. Do you and Coach Graves talk about like a certain number of how many you want to get from the transfer portal compared to how many high school seniors you want to bring in, or is there any specific number you have in your mind, or are you just kind of going and seeing what's available?
I think ideally we have a like a number of thinking more of it as 1 year guy, like guys that maybe grad transfers or guys that maybe have 1 year eligibility. That's because there's a multitude of those guys as the last year the COVID year rolls off the books this year coming up. So I think there's those guys. I think you look at it from a 1 year guy. You think about it from a perspective of how do you then build your core guys that you think are going to be long-term guys in your program. And so I think kind of a balance. I still think the magic is trying to find a balance because, you could bring in all these 1 year guys. Well, they all think they're going to be the leading scorer. Everybody wants to do that. And so you have to try to find some pieces of it that mesh together and then manage the personalities and try to help them each of them be the best that they can, all while staying in the team concept. So it's an interesting world we're in. And I think one that you think, man, this can't get any weirder. It can't be any different. But then, you blink your eyes in a week and it's a totally different set of rules and a totally different setup than it was. But just as a competitive person, that's awesome and I love it. And, you got to adapt or you die. And that's the part of it where you got to figure out how you can adapt and be competitive and win.
One of the best things about this conversation, Mark, and I'm going to tell you, is so many young coaches think that they win games here at the high school level and they're going to be a head college coach sometime, and they never think that they have to put in their dues. But you talk about driving from Illinois, hanging out at Central Michigan on the weekend, sleeping in the locker room, having Sweet Lenny come in and not even know who you are. but those are the things that you had to do to get to the college game, and nothing was handed to you. Nothing came free to you. You went out and grabbed it. And I think that's what a lot of young coaches need to hear, because I think today a lot of young coaches think that they're great. They think because they run screen roll up top that they're inventing something new, and they're not. And in order to be successful, you got to put the time in, and you got to go and work your butt off, right?
Absolutely. And you could go through, everybody's got the war stories. I go to coach junior college basketball and they, like $6,800. And I worked part-time at a Mexican restaurant waiting tables, and you do all this stuff to figure out how to survive and how to make it. But, I think it all comes back to the people that you're surrounded with. And I was incredibly blessed to have great coaches like you, Jay Brown, when I was growing up, to have a work ethic, from my parents and from Mr. Holmes, and to be able to work. And in the end, you don't have to be the smartest guy in the world, but you better damn well be the hardest worker. And you better have a servant's attitude, and you better be willing to do whatever is needed to get the job done. And in the end, I think that's the most important thing, and it's the one thing that's carried me through my life and allowed me to provide for my family and have a great experience and really impact young people and really help change people's lives. In the end, is what I think God's called me to do and what my ministry is in the end.
Hey, listen, man, I can't appreciate because I know you guys are really busy in your recruiting stuff and getting everything set up. Thanks for taking a few minutes and talking ball with one of your old coaches and the great Pat King. And I mean, good luck to you. If you need any info, if you need any intel from Northern Indiana, give us a call and we'll tell you who the players are, brother.
Coach, I love you and I appreciate you, Coach King. You got a place in heaven for putting up with him all these years. I just want you to know that.
I tell you, you're exactly right.
Like St. Pete, he ain't even gonna look at the roll. They're gonna roll out the red carpet when you get up there.
You know it. You're talking to the choir right here, buddy. I appreciate it.
You're gonna be able to sprint. You're gonna be able to sprint through them gates, Coach.
I'll have the red carpet waiting on me, won't I? That's for sure.
All right, listen, Mark. Hey, keep busting it, man. Tell your parents I said hi. All right, man.
Yes, sir. I will. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Good luck to you.
See you, Mark.
Yes, sir.
That is the absolutely great Mark Schlesinger, man.
Here's the one thing I caught. He says he's getting ready to be 50. Isn't that amazing? Because I know some of the guys that when I went to Texas, I've been sitting there talking to some of my former players. They're all 49 and 50 years old too, and I'm going, oh my!
Please, little Marky Schlesinger's going to be 50.
I know. I understand.
It blows my mind and the things that he's accomplished in his life, and through busting it and hard work.
And see, that's one of the things that, just to finish that up, a lot of the people that sit here and watch these mid-major games on TV, those assistant coaches that are there, they hear all these things about how much the head coach has done. The assistants are doing just as much and more. And like you said, they're sleeping in the car. Like you said, he made $6,800. He's waiting tables at a Mexican restaurant. You've got to be young, single, and mobile. And you're eating dorm food at age 26, 27. Everything you have on's got the school logo on it because you don't own any clothes. You don't have enough money to buy anything.
Right. I say right on. Look at me. Right on.
Look at us. And how old are we, right? We're still doing
right on. No, you're 100% right.
You want to hear something funny? Even at the higher level, at the major D1 level, when I came back to DFW the other day from North Carolina, there was a taller dude that was decked out head to toe in school issued gear, and he had his name tag on his backpack. So I looked him up. I was like, oh, all right, cool. I forget the dude. I don't want to call him a kid. He's like 24, but I forget his name. But he played ball for Jawan up there at that blue and yellow school that I don't refer to by name.
Here, the Michigan school, right?
Yeah, well, forget about Juwan. Dusty May's turning that thing into it's going to be a really, really good basketball school. He spoke at the IBCA Coaches Clinic this past weekend, and from what everybody told me, he was phenomenal. So Dusty May will get that going.
He stole Roddy Gale from Ohio State.
Yes, I know. And before we get moving on, we have got to get a couple spots in because these people,
they're the ones that have been paying our bills, haven't they?
Have been phenomenal. Tony Letcher at Health Markets Insurance, whether you need help with your health insurance or Medicare, give Tony a buzz at 574-307-8882 or visit him at his website at tletcher.com. There's the picture of the 1995 John Adams Eagle.
Hey, and if you're watching it, scan the QR code that goes to the website.
There it is, right there, man.
You don't even have to worry about how to spell Letcher.
If you are on and you see us, you can see Tony now, and you'll also be able to see Han Funeral Home, located at 505 West A Street in downtown Mishawaka. I haven't asked you in a while. What did one casket say to the other?
Is that you coughing?
Beautiful. Whoever said you need Magic Mind?
I'm good.
You do.
I'm on the top. I'm at the top of my game. I'm outstanding in my field.
You can call Pat Hahn and his crew anytime. 574-255-1474 or stop in and get answers from the local funeral professionals. My son is an employee at Hahn Funeral Home, and he just talks wonders about the professionalism that Pat Hahn and his people have at Hahn Funeral Home.
Hey, do you know why the Scarecrow won an award?
I do not know.
He was outstanding in his field.
Well, that's funny as hell. He's outstanding in his field. And right away, what does my mind go to? The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz.
Yep.
And it goes there because
It's a twister. It's a twister.
Believer of Magic Mind reduces your stress level, gives you steadiness and calms you, gives you added energy, focus, and clarity. It helps you with your memory. I've been on it for 3 weeks to a month, and I can't even. I know my wife's birthday now. I've been married to her for 16 years. I know when her birthday is.
That's great. That's good.
Which is phenomenal for me because I could always tell you what a down screen was, what screen to screener was, what help side was, what V back was, what secondary break was. Couldn't remember birthdays. Now I got it, man.
Or the grocery list that you were supposed to.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember your anniversary?
I do.
I'm still
I do
working
because
on
it's my code on a lot of my stuff, man. But anyway, Fricks. Do we got a Fricks game of the week?
We haven't this week. I kind of gave up on those once the seasons were over. We were doing them during the tournament.
I got a Fricks game of the week.
You got a game of the week?
Yeah.
Baseball?
Yeah, baseball. The opening game. The opening game.
You want the car?
Yes, I gotta have the car. Are you kidding me?
Do you still have the car?
Fricks game of the week. Boom. I love that car. Fricks game of the week.
No, it's all yours.
On Friday, the Cubs go to Fenway Park. Shota Imanaga is on the bump for him. He's the lefty they signed out of Japan. He's now 4-0. His ERA is somewhere at 2. Cubs beat the Red Sox 7-1 at Fenway Park. Lose the last 2, but they go to and get Shota on the mound, and he does the number on the Red Sox. Now, we're going to talk some NFL draft. We're going to talk some Chicago Bears. I'm going to get my great son on the line, Jackie Blue, because he is an expert on the draft picks of the Bears. You guys can chat it up for a minute if you want.
What I was going to do is I was going to talk a little bit of WNBA real quick. They mentioned today Candace Parker has announced her retirement after, I think I said 18 years of basketball. One of the things I mentioned here locally.
18 in the league?
In the league.
Holy crap, I'm old.
Yeah. And here's the reason we mention that, because you may remember this yourself when you were just a little kid. When she played at Naperville Central, came to South Bend and played the St. Joe Indians back then. And that's when Amy Litka and Lickleitner and Smallbone and St. Clair were playing for St. Joe. And they filled that gym at St. Joe. That place was full. And that was back in, I think, 05 or 06. But she's now been 38. But to go on with that, I'm looking here. The preseason for the WNBA starts this Friday. And the Indiana,
I think is crazy.
The Indiana Fever play. Yeah, the Indiana Fever play in Dallas Friday night for $57. You can get in the upper deck. Now, they don't play downtown. They play out in Arlington at College Park. But it said, now if you want two floor seats will cost you over $700 for an exhibition game.
Dang!
To see the Fever play on Friday night. Opening day is the following Friday, May 10th. I'm sorry, it's on the 14th. Next Friday, the 10th, is when they play in Indianapolis. Atlanta has a preseason game. Floor seats are $750 each.
Dang!
And that will be at Gamebridge. And then the season starts May 14th, and Indiana plays in Connecticut for their first home game. And I noticed that the cheapest seat at the Connecticut game is $130.
Dang! Jack, what do you say to that? Dang!
Hey, it's a growing sport, and that's the Caitlin Clark effect right there. I bet you're going to see the same thing with the Bears and Caleb Williams.
Dang! But here's the deal.
Segue.
There's a difference, Jack. I'm going to go watch Caleb Williams, and I'm going to pay. All right, Jackie Blue, tell me, what's your opinion of the Bears draft?
Home run. You hit it out of the park. You got two A-list stars in the first round. And they kind of had the luxury of being able to take whoever they wanted, really, with some of the holes and roster building that they filled. the last 2 years of Ryan Poles as GM.
So all this stuff goes down about Caleb Williams, right, Pat?
Exactly.
Everybody talking about Caleb Williams.
They're trying to pick him apart.
He's this. He's going to be the number one pick. So if anybody spent any amount of time on me trying to pick me apart, they could do that without question. I got a hole in my head, for God's sake.
We look like Swiss cheese by the time they get done.
I mean, they say, heck, you got a hole in your head. I say, you're right.
You're right.
It's kind of like,
to do it to Andrew
kind of
Luck,
like
too.
John,
It's documented.
when Harry Carey and Jimmy Pearsall worked together when they did the White Sox games, because Harry Carey would say to Jimmy Pearsall, "Jimmy, you're crazy," when Jimmy would make some comment, and Jimmy Pearsall would say, "I know, I got the papers to prove it," because he was crazy. But so, and I'm sure you did some research on Caleb Williams. And I did some research. I found absolutely none of it warranted. And I found absolutely that his teammates loved him. Tell me what you discovered in trying to learn more about him.
Yeah, definitely the same thing. And, I'm on Twitter all the time, or X, what you call it now. And I see Caleb Williams, he interacts with some of the fans. He's done nothing but support his teammates at USC, and then even with the draft picks that the Bears had after him, he's showing love to them, posting stuff on social media. I mean, he shouted out the punter that they drafted in the 4th round, texted the punter. He's done nothing but support his current teammates and the guys they drafted, and he's definitely a team-first guy.
Yeah, and what he said to the punter was, "Hey, congratulations, welcome to Chicago, but you're probably not going to have to punt a whole lot, right?"
Right.
Well, and speaking of this punter, the best punter in the nation, right? I mean, averages 48 a kick?
Yep, and he set the record, definitely record in a season and record in a career.
For the most kicks.
And punt. I mean, special teams we've seen with guys like Devin Hester and Robbie Gould as a kicker, Cody Parkey on the bad end of it. Special teams in Chicago is important. You got bad weather, you got wind, it's cold. That's a luxury in the NFL. If you can pin somebody inside the 10, you're set with a good defense.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you can flip the field on those scenarios, and the one thing they talked about this punter named Toy Taylor, he's from Australia, is that he can make it land and go any way that he wants, whether it's hit and go to the right, hit and go to the left, which I find amazing. But that's what I found out, that him kicking a football is like a professional hitting a wedge.
Right, and let's put it this way: Iowa scored 15 points a game offensively, and they won 10 games in the Big Ten.
Yeah, he was the most valuable offensive player, wasn't he?
He was pinning guys deep, because they have a good defense. Offense needs a lot of work, but.
Yeah, so their second pick, Rome Odunze, we were almost going to have his position coach on with us tonight, Shaq Van, who played at Adams, right?
Pat? He and Scott are classmates.
Yeah, at Adams, and he was an assistant coach at University of Washington. Now he's at Ball State, and he was on a recruiting visit, so he couldn't be on. But there were a lot of receiver coaches, a lot of receiver people saying that those 3 receivers, and obviously Marvin Harrison was probably the best one, but Neighbors and Odunze were obviously really, really good receivers, right?
Yeah, definitely. Harrison's just kind of the all-around, one of the best wide receiver prospects we've seen in a long time. Neighbors, definitely the most explosive athlete of those 3. It's kind of like when the Giants took him. It's kind of like when they took Odell early. Odunze is not a freak athlete like Neighbors or really even Harrison, really. But, he was the number 1 receiver in the league in yards, catches, contested catches, and contested catch rate. You throw the ball up to him, more than likely he's going to find it and come down with it.
Let me ask you this question, though.
It's because he's 6'3" and 200 pounds, too. That definitely helps.
Yeah, he's got great size. But who in the world is going to throw the ball to Neighbors in New York? Who is that going to be? Is it going to be Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor? Who's going to throw him the ball?
I guess some of the time. That's we've been asking ourselves that question for a long time. Right?
Yeah.
Now,
we have.
Jack,
He
here's one
had
of the
Justin Fields, but he had a crappy team around him.
I was saying, Scott, maybe you may be able, between Jack and Scott, you guys may be able to figure this one out. I heard something where Odunze and Williams have already been throwing the ball together, whether it was last month. I don't know if they were at a combine together or if Odunze came out to California and met up with him, but they've already been throwing pass routes together before the draft even happened. So
it wouldn't surprise me. Rome's from Vegas.
Yeah, so somewhere they hooked up and they've been together throwing patterns.
Well, I mean, it wasn't only them. DJ Moore and Keenan Allen was with them also. So, so the top 3 receivers for the Bears already worked out, right, Jack?
Yeah, they have. And even before, Odunze and Caleb were on the same flight to Detroit for the draft, and they met up and they took a picture together, and they talked. And Odunze was in his own separate room after the Bears picked him, and Caleb went in there with his phone recording it and all excited, hyping him up and stuff that they were going to be teammates.
Yeah, I think that's great. In the 3rd round, the Bears take Kyron Amadoji, a 6'7" tackle from Yale. Athletic's supposed to be, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I don't know too much about him. That's where I had to look up after they drafted him. Definitely what he reminds me of, look at the frame. He's 6'6", 6'7", about 330. They talk about his athleticism and his long reach. I think it's just a less polished Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright was obviously very, very skilled at the right tackle position the Bears took last year. And that's why I see, he might be coming for Braxton Jones' starting spot maybe next year, or even if Jones gets hurt. So.
Yeah, and he's got to be pretty smart. He graduated from Yale, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And then
that was the first thing I thought of. Yeah. Somebody knows how to. He's going to be able to read combo blocks and linebacker schemes because being from Yale like that.
Yeah, and then they trade a pick because they only had 4 picks. They trade a 4th rounder next year, and they pick up Austin Booker, a defensive end from Kansas.
Yeah, so Booker's a guy that. In the draft analysis, right after he got picked, I was watching on ESPN. They said that in some of the games last year, he had a 2nd-round grade. Some of the games, he was kind of a no-show. So just working on the consistency. But with a guy like that, he's only played 500 snaps in college. So he's just very raw, doesn't have the experience yet. But they really liked his pass rush win rate. He's pressuring the quarterback even if he's not getting sacks. That's something Montez Sweat is really good at. Just putting pressure on him, not always getting home. But so I definitely like the pick.
That's where he becomes a rotation player when one of the starters needs a break for 3 or 4 plays. That's where he fits into the plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Who else did you? So what other team did you like their draft?
I know the Cardinals had a lot of picks. They did a lot of trading last year and got some guys. Walking away with Marvin Harrison, I think, is very good in the 1st round. What's surprise? I like the pick for the Colts at 15. First defensive player didn't come off the board till 15, which for the Colts, which is a record in the NFL draft. I definitely like the end there. There was a lot of injury concerns, but I think he fits their defense really well.
Yeah, and the fact that he, the only thing that scares me is when you hear about the neck and any kind of neck injuries.
And you understand that very well, don't
neck
you?
pain, and I mean that always concerns me. But obviously, if he gets the clearance from the medical people, then he's good to go, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they get the wide receiver from Texas, Mitchell, who can really fly, right?
Yep. A lot of people had him going in the 1st round, somewhere in the 20s. Ends up falling to day 2. Colts trade up and pick him.
That's really good. So here's the biggest question of the day for you. You're just, you're rehabbing from Achilles tendon surgery. You get your cast taken off today. You get your stitches out. You're in a boot. How's that feel?
It's pretty good. It's kind of like a newborn deer learning how to walk. I still got to use crutches just to help out, but graduating out of the cast into the boot, definitely a great feeling. Everything's right on the timeline perfectly. So yeah, we'll just keep going at it. We'll get physical therapy started, and
how many wedges do they have in the back of your heel right now?
2.
Okay. I remember my brother talked about every week or so they'd take a wedge out of his heel, drop his heel down a little lower to stretch that Achilles out.
Yeah, so I got 2. Doctor told me kind of just keep that. I can adjust that, with whatever's comfortable.
So are you still going to try and make that trip to Wrigley?
Yeah, I'll be at Wrigley on Saturday. I should be good to go.
Hey, you got a boot on, you can go.
Yeah, you be careful, big boy. Hey, listen, thanks for your insight on the Chicago Bears, and I do agree with you. I thought the Bears had a very, very good draft. I thought Ryan Poles was very savvy with his trading last year and got really lucky with Carolina not playing well. And obviously, I think the thing that they got to send a new pole over to is Lovie Smith. I mean, Lovie Smith goes for the touchdown with the Texans and wins, which then elevates the Bears to number 1 and the Texans to number 2, which allows the Bears to trade that pick to the Panthers, and the Panthers pick Bryce Young, and then the Texans take C.J. Stroud, which it worked out for the Texans,
Worked
right?
out for everybody.
Right.
3 teams are real happy.
I think Lovey deserves a statue outside of Soldier Field, to be honest with you. And I really wanted him to announce a pick this year. I think they should have announced a pick this year.
That would have been classic, man. I love it.
But last thing about the Bears is that draft. I think it was just very, don't do too much. Keep it simple. And I think a lot of times GMs try to reach on a guy and see special things about a guy. The Bears kind of had only a couple needs. They addressed them. Kept it simple.
Yeah, I mean, some GMs think that they're the smartest thing since sliced bread. I'm going to go find the player here at Boise State that no one's heard of, right?
And he's going to be.
I'm going to trick everybody, and the guy ends up being a bust. Instead of seeing the players right in front of you and understanding how good they are and just taking them.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I thought the Vikings had a really good draft in the J.J. McCarthy deal, and then the rusher, the outside edge player for Alabama, Burns. I mean, I thought that was a really good first round for the Vikings.
Yeah, I do as well. I think I'm not a big fan of J.J. McCarthy coming in day 1, but I think with that offense, Kevin O'Connell's a good head coach. Got plenty of weapons in Minnesota, so I think that's the best situation for him, and I think he'll develop.
All right, man. You got finals on Wednesday and Friday, man. Knock it out of the park. You got it?
Yes, sir.
I love you, Jackie Blue. See you, man.
All right.
Bye. I'll
say something about the Colts pick.
Yeah, talk about the Colts a little bit. I mean, the one thing I see, Scott, is the Colts got 9 players in the draft.
Yeah, so they had a big draft, and the graphic that they tweeted out when they took Laiatu Latu, his last 2 seasons at UCLA, he was first in his PFF grade, his first in sacks, first in pass rush win rate, first in pass rush grade, and second in pressures. So they're not. He's not particularly a slouch. Obviously, injury history is something that I'm sure a lot of people weren't or were a little bit afraid of. But I think for being the 15th pick, and I think it was crazy, he was the first defensive player picked, which definitely shows where the league is going as far as offense versus defense. But I think he'll be good. I am kind of traumatized with first-round defensive linemen after the Colts picked Bjorn Werner in the draft before Andrew Luck.
Yeah, really.
But
and that's one of those deals again. I'm going to be the guy to find the best guy ever,
find
right?
The diamond in a rough.
Yeah, and that guy couldn't bust a grape.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned
Bjorn Werner was good at Florida State. He just couldn't make it work in the NFL.
Yeah. You mentioned how offensive it was this year. 6 of the first 12 picks were quarterbacks.
Yeah, and I think everybody kind of felt that it would be a quarterback heavy first round, but I'm not sure that. Well, and I could be wrong on this, but I'm not sure that anybody had Michael Penix going in the first 10 picks, did they?
No, I sure didn't.
Doubtful.
Well, what was interesting was the huge drop off between Bo Nix at number 12. The next quarterback that was picked was in the 5th round. That was Spencer Rattler. Talking about somebody that draft wise fell off the cliff. I mean, 5 years ago he was the latest flavor of the month at Oklahoma and couldn't do anything wrong.
Well, so he was the latest flavor of the month, and I just studied this today. I think he played the first 3 or 4 games of that particular year at Oklahoma and got dinged up a little bit. They brought in Caleb Williams, and he was just phenomenal.
Yes.
And Lincoln Riley had a decision to make, because most coaches will tell you, you're not going to lose your spot by injury. Well, when it was time for Spencer Rattler to come back, he did lose his spot to injury, and Caleb Williams came in, and that's kind of where he took over.
Yes, and neither one of them ended up at Oklahoma. One went to Southern Cal, and the other went to South Carolina.
Yeah.
And then I heard the 5th round, Jordan Travis went to the Jets from Florida State. Some of you people maybe jog in your memory about Florida State and the success they had this year. And then the 6th round was Joe Milton from Tennessee. Yeah. So eventually you had 9 quarterbacks go in the draft.
And Joe Milton made it absolutely clear. He said, I will not be switching to any other position, because they were talking about him, his great body, his great athleticism, that they could make a tight end out of him. And he said, absolutely not.
Now, I was going to say before we finish, you got Notre Dame in for
Yeah,
I think
Notre
I was
Dame
reading
players,
they had, 7 players.
Where'd Joe Alt go? He was pretty high.
Joe Alt went number in the first round, the 5th overall pick to the Los Angeles Chargers. And obviously, when that happened, then you knew that possibly Rome Odunze could slide down to the Bears, and then the real clincher was when Atlanta took Penix, and then you knew that the Bears could now get Odunze. Blake Fisher, the offensive tackle, went in the 2nd round, the 59th pick to the Houston Texans. I think Blake Fisher is from Indianapolis, I believe.
Is he the Ben Davis kid?
I'm not sure if he's Ben Davis.
Okay,
but he's an Indianapolis kid, and those were bookend tackles. One goes in the 1st round, one goes in the 2nd round.
That's what Notre Dame's known for right now with the running game, is that they are really producing some pro linemen, and you see that. I mean, the Colts have one, and there's every year they're putting out at least 1 and sometimes 2 linemen into the pros.
Yeah, and as you're going to see as I go through this, so you're going to see how much value running backs have in the National Football League now. The 3rd overall pick for Notre Dame was Maris Leofau. He went in the 3rd round to the Dallas Cowboys. He's a linebacker. The 87th pick, the 4th pick for Notre Dame, was a quarterback, Cam Hart, went to the Chargers. A 5th round pick number 140. The 5th pick for the Fighting Irish was a linebacker, J.D. Bertrand. He went in the 5th round, the 143rd pick to the Falcons. He was a leading tackler for a great Notre Dame defense. So now we're 5 picks in, and we're into the 5th round. Now, the running back, Audric Estime, who's the next coming of Jerome Bettis.
Yes.
Who's a great running back. He goes in the 5th round, the 147th pick. So all of the draft gurus said, well, maybe Estime goes maybe in the 2nd round, maybe he goes in the 3rd round. Running backs are just not valued like they used to be, because their shelf life is it's so short.
Yeah, 5 years max.
Well, I mean,
unless you get somebody that they think is generational, like Bijan Robinson last year.
No, you're 100% right. Their 7th pick was Javonte Jean-Baptiste in the 7th round.
Ohio State transfer.
Yeah, pick 222. He went to the Washington Commanders, played 4 years at Ohio State, played 1 year at Notre Dame. Now, the undrafted free agent signings for Notre Dame.
They had 7 drafted, and they also had people coming in as free agents.
Yeah, and they had 4 undrafted signings. Sam Hartman went to the Washington Commanders. I think when Sam signed up, came to Notre Dame, I think Sam had maybe visions of grandeur that his stock as a pro quarterback would be a little bit more than an undrafted free agent.
Mm-hmm.
But really, when you're an undrafted free agent, you get to, it's your pick of where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're almost better off being an undrafted free agent than you are a 6th or 7th round pick.
Good point. Because
you can choose where you think you might have a chance to play a little bit.
Let's face it, most of those guys in the 6th and 7th round, most of them, if they play, it's going to be for somebody else, because they're going to get cut. People are going to see them on tape. and they're going to pick them up, put them on the practice squad or whatever it might be, and they end up playing for somebody that did not draft them.
And I think one of the things that hurt Sam, he started out really well for Notre Dame, then they had some struggles, but I think one of the things that really hurt him in the Senior Bowl, he was 7 for 25 for 69 yards and got picked one time, but I mean, he's got a shot. He's got a shot to go in and play. He's going to play behind Jaden Daniels, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jaden Daniels, the All-American from LSU.
Was Heisman Trophy winner.
And they also, I believe they have Sam Howell there, who was a North Carolina quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So Sam Hartman is thinking that maybe he can go in, maybe he can be the number 3, maybe he can learn, maybe he can get better, and then at some point in time, maybe can get picked up as a backup somewhere else.
Who else went free agent?
Bo Bauer, a linebacker who played 2 years ago, also signed with Washington. A defensive back, Thomas Harper, signed with the Chargers, the third Notre Dame player to sign with Jim Harbaugh. And then the kicker, Spencer Schrader, signs with the Indianapolis Colts. Last year, he had one of the strongest kicking legs at the college level. And hopefully he'll get into Indianapolis.
And you're kicking inside.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. That's a big difference.
And have a shot. But that's a pretty good representation of seven players being drafted and 4 undrafted free agents. You got 11 players from last year's team going into the league.
And that's a huge marketing for Coach Freeman and the Notre Dame coaching staff and saying, look, we just put 11 people in the 7 drafted, 4 free agents.
Yeah. Hey, one of the things that I wanted to mention before we move on is
Blake Fisher is from Avon.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought that, but wasn't going to say it. But one of the things that I wanted to bring up, you were talking about Candace Parker and how she played against St. Joe, maybe.
Yeah.
At one point in time. My first year, when I go to Anderson, my first year, we play Mount Carmel High School from Illinois. Mm-hmm. And I don't really know nothing about it. I get to scouting. We do our work and blah, blah, blah. One of the guards from Mount Carmel was the great Donovan McNabb, the quarterback that played for the Philadelphia Eagles for a long, long time. One of the forwards was a kid named Antoine Walker who played at Kentucky and then had a long-standing career with the Boston Celtics.
They were on the same team in high school.
They were on the same team. They beat us in overtime. And the Anderson people were telling me, wait till you see these guys come in, because they played them the year before, and we paid them some money to come back and play at the Wigwam the second year. And those were 2 highly, highly skilled athletes who had great professional careers.
Yeah, 2 pros on 1 high school team.
Much like Candace Parker did.
Yeah, and like I said, they came over here as an exhibition game. They were the best team in Chicago, and at the time, St. Joe, I think they had either won the state the year before or it was the year they won the state. I can't remember. But St. Joe was very good. And then, as I said, they sold out the old St. Joe High School up here on the top of the hill.
We used to sell
where you grew up.
We used to sell that place out all the time.
And it was the ticket. They probably could have played that at Notre Dame and had
the house that Heck built, right?
No, it was the house that I fouled out in probably every game.
Now you got to remember, Scott. Right before him, they had what name was Kowski and another one named Abernathy.
Tom Abernathy, and the year before me was Dave Kuzmas, who played at Notre Dame. Now, ironically, you say that because I'm going to hang Friday night. I'm going to hang with Tom Abernathy and Dave Kuzmitz and about 4 or 5 other St. Joe legends. We're going to get together, and it'll be fun. It'll be fun talking about that small gym. That gym probably sat about 2,000
at the most.
Yeah, and it was just a great.
I hated that gym.
It was just a great. As a matter of fact, I brought an Anderson team up for it.
Yeah, I remember. I came to that game.
Yeah, and Father Bly, the great Father Bly, read the invocation before the game, and it was really a special time to be able to bring my team up. But the one thing that I didn't put together was 3 ex-St. Joe players ref the game, and I thought, well, this is kind of crazy, man. We were pretty good, but we won by 2.
Yeah,
it was funny.
Sounded like Logansport or Plymouth.
So my worst gym Okay, my worst gym is Logansport.
Yeah, I don't think that's not even a discussable item. I'm not going to argue with you.
Yeah, and Plymouth is a pretty rough place to play too.
Yeah, you're going to have trouble winning there.
Yeah,
Could have called Bill Titus and tell him how much you hate Logan.
I can talk to Titus. I don't want to mess with him. Hey, we haven't even talked about the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, one of the things I was going to mention for people like me that would much rather watch college than the pros. Right now is the time I'm going to watch the pros. It's playoff time, and this week particularly is going to be one of the best weeks because it's elimination week. You've got all these people that are now into games 4, game 5, game 6, where you have elimination games. Where, just for example, tonight, the 7th is the Celtics and the Heat. They're playing right now.
Yeah, that series surprises me a little bit. What's that series at?
It's 2-1, and it's the number 1 Celtics and the 8-seeded Heat.
Yeah,
and the Heat weren't even the 8. Weren't they the 9 or the 10 that played their way in?
Yeah, the Heat played their way in, but now the Heat are playing without Jimmy Buckets.
Yeah.
As Jimmy is out. And, to see that they're even in the series 2-1 is outstanding for the Heat.
Yeah, and the rotation you have now, so you've got teams that are playing games 5, 6, 7, a lot of them, and they're playing Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week. Tonight, later on, you've got the Thunder who are up. They're the 1, and the Pelicans are the 8. That's a 3-0 series.
Yeah,
that could be a closeout game tonight. That's the 8:30 game. And then the game tonight, you also have a closeout game, the Nuggets and the Lakers. The Lakers are the 7, and the Lakers are about ready to get sent. And it was funny that Barkley said that the Pelicans weren't even good enough to go to Cancun for vacation. He's sending them to Galveston.
Chuck said he would rather hang out with the big women in San Antonio than romp around in the water in that dirty water in Galveston.
He had Shaq doubled over. He was like he couldn't even talk. He was laughing so hard.
That little shtick that they did about the women in Texas was
it's just San Antonio.
Yes,
the churros.
It's just amazing to me, man.
Well, did you hear his thing about Victoria's Secret?
No,
that San Antonio hasn't discovered Victoria's Secret yet, so all the women there wear bloomers.
No, those guys are so funny.
Now, what's funny is in both the East and the West, the 4 or 5 games, the Clippers and the Mavs are 2-2, and in the East, the Cavs and the Magic, the 4 and the 5, they're 2-2. So those are even.
Yeah, everything
else is 3-1 right now, and the one that's kind of the odd one is the Pacers and the Bucks, because the Pacers are the 6 and the Bucks are the 3. But for you guys that watched yesterday's game, Damian Lillard did not play. Giannis did not play. Bobby Portis gets kicked out in the first quarter.
Yeah, great choice, Bobby.
Yeah. So they're missing 3 of their best players. So they're stuck with Chris Middleton as their only go-to guy. And, the Pacers put on 125 points and run away and hide.
The Pacers are really good. Rick Carlisle has always done a great job of coaching. They have really, really good young players. That series will be over as soon as they play their next game.
So they play Tuesday night. They've got the late game in Milwaukee. Halliburton from Iowa State, he is turning into the next Reggie Miller for the Pacer people. And one I'm really impressed with it. 2 years ago, they were ready to get rid of Miles Turner. Now all of a sudden,
he's playing really well.
He's their next favorite player.
Yeah, he's playing really, really well, and he's got
some people around him.
Well, he's got confidence too.
Yeah,
he's got a coach that believes in him, and it's one of those deals where, hey, Miles, you got 6 minutes here. You missed 3 shots. I'm taking you out 2.
Yeah,
play through, and when you have confidence, it's like when you had confidence when they put you in for the 4-minute stint against Larry Bird.
Yeah,
okay. The coach said, "Who can guard the guy in the blonde hair?"
I said, "I guarded him,"
and you said, "I got him."
I didn't say I was any good at it, but I guarded him.
You didn't say you were going to stop him, but you said, "I got him."
I can guard him. The guy that I'm really impressed with, just watching the games right now, is Jalen Brunson from the Knicks.
Yeah, he's really good.
He's been putting up 35, 40 a game, 10, 12 assists. The thing that people, if you watch the Knicks at all, they've got 3 Villanova guys that are putting in lots of minutes. The guys that played together on their championship team, now they're with the Knicks. That Knicks Sixers series that they play tomorrow night on Tuesday, it's 3-1 Knicks right now, and the Sixers are about to be the NFL, not for long.
Yeah, and I mean, Joel Embiid is a really good player. He's been injured for a lot of the year, but he's back playing now, and it's hard for him to carry the load, for a whole game. But you're exactly right, man. The Sixers are going to be toast.
And over in
I bet those Philly people are having a real conflict of mind right now with those Villanova guys from the Knicks beating the crap out of their team.
Yeah, exactly. They cheered for them for 4 years, and all of a sudden they're the enemy.
And I tell you, who else is having a great time are the fans in Chicago. So we don't think Thibodeau's any good. We don't like Tibbs. Tibbs is too hard on our players.
Yeah.
The one thing that they said was, well, when Tibbs walks through the office, he doesn't talk to any of the secretaries. He just has his head down, and he's not very outgoing. Hell no, he's a basketball coach. He's a great coach.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and fire Tibbs. And ever since they fired Tibbs, in the immortal words of 1946, Jumpin' Johnny Wilson,
The Bulls can't
bust a grape.
That's right. Out west, the Timberwolves. Who would have ever thought Minnesota would be one? Minnesota and Oklahoma City are the best two teams in the West right now. That's one of the things I'm really impressed with. The Timberwolves last night put the Suns away 4-0.
Well,
and Phoenix, Devin Booker scores 49.
Yes.
Big names. Kevin Durant has 33.
Yes.
Bradley Beal is a no-show. The Bradley Beal contract has really put them in a bind. The Phoenix Suns have no place to go here. They're talking about off-season already. They have no pick. They have no first-round picks. They have no second-round picks until 2031. Think about 2031.
You're going to sink or swim with those guys, right?
They're on the hook for $160 million to Beal until 26-27 season. They can't. Who's going to want him? They can't get rid of him. Who's going to buy his contract? They have no margin to go get any other players right now. So one of the things they're going to have to do is maybe they unload Durant. Maybe Booker wants to go east. I was reading today. They may have to let those two go and rebuild their team around Bradley Beal.
Good luck on that, man. So I mean, is Edwards the best player in the league right now?
He might be the ant
Minnesota.
Ant attack. He had 40 points last night. Karl Anthony Towns had 28, but right now Anthony Edwards he's the name. And it is interesting. We're mentioning names that the media, you don't hear about them every day. We don't. Did I mention LeBron yet? No. I mentioned Kevin Durant. I haven't mentioned Kyrie Irving yet.
Yeah, and you haven't mentioned Chris Paul. You haven't mentioned Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, you haven't mentioned Russell Westbrook. It's the new generation.
Yeah, it's the new generation of players, and we are in a time period now. Now we're talking playoffs. Playoffs. Where
you kidding me?
Playoffs? You kidding me?
Where the team
Jim Mora.
Where the team goes home if you lose. I don't care. Luka Doncic, he scores 40 points. They get beat.
I'd take him any day, man.
I'm just saying.
I'd take Luka any day, wouldn't you?
I would too. But like Devin Booker scores 49 and they lose.
I'd take him any day.
But Anthony Edwards. Everybody's Googling, who the hell is this? But he's on the Timberwolves and they're winning.
Number one overall pick in the draft 2 years ago.
Exactly.
He's not a nobody.
Who's Tyrese Halliburton? Well, the Pacers know him, but do you know him outside? Anybody know who he is outside of Indiana?
Yeah, but it's called. You know what it's called? And a lot of people have no idea what it's called. They just want to get the best players. It's called chemistry.
Sure it is.
It's called team chemistry. I mean, I can't have 3 players that want to take 35 shots each.
Yeah.
I got to have some guys that can guard, some guys that can distribute, some guys that can rebound. But, a lot of GMs hamstring their teams because they think it's all about give me the guy that can score.
They've got the superstars, and that's where Phoenix is right now. They got 3 superstars and no depth.
Yeah, the one player, and I have no idea. I have no idea why this didn't happen. The one player everybody wanted at the trade deadline was Alex Caruso from the Bulls because he can defend. He can make a shot every now and then. He's the best defensive player on the floor. He can rebound. And, for the life of me, the Bulls could have got a number 1 for him. Where are the Bulls going? I mean, they're running the race in Pamplona, running with the Bulls. I don't know.
Or they're in Cancun waiting on the next team.
Yeah. But Alex Caruso, everybody wanted him.
I know. Hey, let's finish up real quick. We're going to talk more. We got some local stuff. We got the high school baseball sectionals. They've already drawn the teams for the tournament come Memorial Day weekend.
Okay, so
softball.
Is that softball or baseball
It's
drawn
both
already?
Both softball and baseball have already drawn up here locally. Right now, the best baseball team around here is South Bend Adams, believe it or not.
Yeah, Mike Case is a great guy, man.
We had him on last year.
He's a great coach.
He said, we've got some pitchers. He said, if my pitchers do what I hope they'll do, we'll be good next year. And that's where we are right now. So here we are at the end of April, and the best team up here is South Bend Adams. Now that could change between now and tournament time.
Yeah, I mean, Penn's going to have to play Adams, or has Penn already played Adams? Do you know?
They did, and Adams beat Penn last week. That was one of the good games. Softball, you've got the defending 4A champion with Penn. You've got the defending 3A champ with New Prairie. Both of them have a lot of people back.
And you got the great pitching at St. Joe.
St. Joe's at 4A now, with Berkeley Zakay is still here. So you got Penn and St. Joe in 4A, who are two of the best teams in the state. They're number 3 and number 4 right now.
And we love Earl, right?
Oh, Earl's our guy, because he's an Anderson Indian.
We got to get Earl on the show.
He's an Anderson Indian.
I guarantee you, Earl's going to get on the show, and he's going to have an old-fashioned or a rum and coke, and we're going to talk softball.
We're going to talk about something, that's for sure. It might be softball.
Yeah, I know Mishawaka's leading the NLC in softball with a 5-0 record. Brian Miller's a great coach. He's my partner on WSBT. He does a great job of softball.
Well, and like I said, they've got the tourney draws out in softball right now. You've got New Prairie is number 2 in 3A. And the team right now everybody's talking about is South Bend Riley, who had trouble fielding a team 2 or 3 years ago, and all of a sudden they are the 3rd-ranked team in the state in 3A. They're beating people by 15, 20 runs.
But the word on the street is CB Gavin put together a pretty good NIL program.
He must have.
And that softball program has come back. And I'm just kidding, because I love CB. CB and I grew up together.
You guys grew up together.
He's the athletic director, right? And I see him probably 4 mornings a week at Martin's. He's getting a cup of coffee. I'm getting a cup of coffee. CB's the best, man.
That's fun. You guys have a chance. So anyways, we've got that. We'll talk more about high school stuff here as the month of May. We've got, 2 more shows for sure that we're going to do. We've got 2 more shows here in May. And then we're going to probably start breaking things down for the summer. So,
well, our show May 13th now. So I want our listeners on May 13th. I'm trying to put this together. I'm working on it right now. Give me a hand, because this could come together. Yes,
this is a maybe.
Yes,
I gotta hope it happens.
May 13th. I'm trying to get our show put together at the world famous Wigwam. Trying to get in there, trying to get some people to let us in. We'll go down to Anderson. We'll take this show on the road, and we'll be in the just the world famous Wigwam gymnasium set up there.
It's sitting there empty. We got to find out.
Have a show.
Is there electricity? Can we get the lights on?
I'll bring a 500-foot extension cord.
And then
we'll find an internet connection.
Then we got to find an internet connection.
Hey.
We may have to run over to one of the neighbors' houses and see if we can borrow an internet.
Well, no, we'll just get a hotspot. We'll just get a hotspot, right?
We'll get a hotspot.
We'll get a hotspot, man.
We'll talk to John Overmeyer and see if we can get a hotspot.
Get a hotspot. Hey, before we go, speaking about the great John Overmeyer, I really wanted him to call tonight. Maybe we can get him for sure next week, because I know it's really tough for the people at Clay, and he is a big Clay
He's
supporter.
Their sports information guy, that's for sure.
As they wind down their baseball, their track, and their softball now, with the end of the existence of the high school. So I would kind of like to chat it up with him and see the sentiment at Clay High School right now. But before we go, thanks to our people that sponsor the show, Health Works with Tony Letcher. They do a great job. Hahn Funeral Home with Pat Hahn and the great people that he has at Hahn Funeral Home. Magic Mind, take it, see what you think. Magicmind.com. Coach's Corner 20 for a 20% discount. Our great producer, Scotty King, just does a great job for us and has put us over the edge in our rankings. And people that tune into the show. My guy to my left, Pat King, is the absolute best. And Mark Schlesinger, I don't know. Do you know Mark Schlesinger very well?
I've never met him.
So Mark Schlesinger tells you.
He says, God bless you.
No, he says you're going to heaven for hanging with Heck. He don't even know you.
He's one. Well, he obviously does. If I'm sitting here next to you, somehow he knows what I'm going through. He knows what I'm going through.
And we want to thank the great Mark Schlesinger for taking some time out. Jackie Blue talked some Chicago Bear football with us. Tune in next week. Some baseball. We'll have some Major League Baseball. Some of the camps will open up for the NFL. They'll have rookie mini camps going on.
The transfer portal, I think, closes May 1 for colleges.
Yeah, so maybe
a lot of
our next show.
A lot of decisions are going to be made tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday about who's going where.
Yeah, and our next show, I mean, we'll have a list of who's going where.
I would bet.
I mean, by next week, I don't know. I may be in the portal. Like you may say, hey, where's Heck? And I'll say, I'm going to Indiana State. They need a power forward. I tell you what, the portal.
That's right. Well, is it what happened? Can I get put on waivers for something? I don't know.
Do the show from Terre Haute. If Mark worked at a Mexican restaurant, I can do the show from Terre Haute while I'm in the portal.
If you remember, I tried to do the show from the lobby at Port of Arts, and it worked out for about a half hour.
Yeah, Pablo Cruz and
Pancho
Villa and the boys took care of you. Hey, you're the best, Scott. Thanks for spinning the dials for us. And thanks to everybody for tuning in. We will see you guys next week. And then hopefully the week after, we'll be doing this show from the world famous Wigwam.
If we're not in Anderson, we'll be back here.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man.
All right, thanks, everybody.
See you.
Bye. That's what we came here for. Here we go.